When Alaska Air Group finalized its acquisition of Hawaiian Airlines, it not only inherited a highly recognizable brand, but also a complex fleet that mixes aircraft from both Boeing and Airbus. The group, across its two major brands, now operates the Boeing 717, 737, 787 Dreamliner, Airbus A321neo, A330-200, and Embraer E175. It's a stark contrast to the Alaska Airlines 737 mainline and E175 regional fleet just 2 years ago. And so, as Alaska moves past its successful acquisition of Hawaiian and considers how to maintain the unique identities of both brands, it too must decide the future of Hawaiian's A321neo fleet. With just 18 aircraft in service, Alaska's CFO has stated the company will either double its fleet of A321neos or eliminate it altogether. Let's take a look at this situation and dilemma in today's video. In 2017, Hawaiian Airlines introduced their first A321neo to its growing fleet. Registered as November 202 Hotel Alpha, the A321neo marked a new era of single-aisle flying for the airline. Wanting a fuel-efficient aircraft capable of serving flights from Hawaii to the US mainland, where a wide-body aircraft wouldn't make sense, the A321neo, with its improved fuel burn and terrific range, fit that need perfectly. Today, Hawaiian operates a fleet of 18 A321neos with an average age of just 7 years. This makes them the youngest aircraft in Hawaiian's fleet. With the carrier, the A321neo connects most major Hawaiian airports to secondary West Coast destinations such as Sacramento, Long Beach, Oakland, and Las Vegas. The A321neo has also allowed Hawaiian to increase frequencies on existing routes and open new city pairs where lower volumes of travelers don't justify its larger A330-200. In addition, Hawaiian has increasingly deployed A321neos on high-demand inter-island routes, as the aircraft provides a significant capacity upgrade compared to its Boeing 717 fleet. But Hawaiian's reliance on Airbus aircraft, both the A321neo and the A330-200, stands in sharp contrast to Alaska's fleet strategy. Following Alaska's 2016 merger with Virgin America for approximately $2.6 billion, the Seattle-based carrier inherited a substantial fleet of Airbus aircraft. That merger brought nearly 70 A320 family jets into Alaska's all-Boeing operation, including 10 A319s, 53 A320s, and 4 A321s, according to historical data from planespotters.net. Shortly after the merger, Alaska continued operating Virgin's A320 fleet across its entire route network. However, Alaska eventually decided that operating two narrow-body families was not sustainable for its long-term vision. And so by the early 2020s, Alaska began its efforts to retire its inherited Airbus fleet and transition again to a solely Boeing operation. Citing higher operating complexity, training, and maintenance costs, Alaska phased out all the former Virgin America Airbus A320 aircraft, retiring the final A321 in early 2024. These days, Alaska operates an all-Boeing mainline fleet consisting of 248 Boeing 737 aircraft with an average age of around 10 years. This is split between the older generation of 737s like the -700, -800 and -900ER, as well as the 737 MAX 8 and MAX 9 series. Alaska's regional subsidiary, Horizon Air, flies 89 Embraer E175 aircraft with an average age of just 6.6 years. In total, Alaska has one of the youngest and most streamlined fleets of the major US carriers. The argument in favor of eventually retiring Hawaiian's A321neos closely mirrors Alaska's strategy after the Virgin America integration. Operating two different narrow-body families requires maintaining separate pilot pools and maintenance programs, all of which add cost and complexity to an operation. With Alaska and Hawaiian now operating under a single operating certificate, the pressure to simplify has only increased. During a December 4th conference, Alaska's CFO Shane Tackett made clear he understands the downsides of operating a mixed narrow-body fleet. According to Aviation Week, Tackett stated that if Alaska doesn't see a strong case for keeping the A321neo, quote, we'd probably end up in a place over time that was a single narrow-body fleet. Many industry analysts interpret this as a signal that Alaska is seeking a replacement for the A321neo, allowing the airline to retain an all-Boeing narrow-body fleet and maintain the same benefits it experienced after retiring the last ex-Virgin America aircraft. Replacing the A321neo with Boeing aircraft would also align well with Alaska's existing fleet and operational expertise. The 737 MAX 9 and MAX 10, if and when the latter is eventually certified, would become the natural replacements for the A321neo. The 737 MAX family is already integral to Alaska's fleet, with the carrier operating 80 MAX 9 airframes and 14 examples of the shorter MAX 8. The 737 MAX 9, an aircraft already in commercial service and flying for Alaska, could take over many of the routes served by Hawaiian's A321neos in the short term. With a range of up to 3,800 nautical miles or 7,040 kilometers, the 737 MAX 9 could easily be used on Hawaii to US West Coast routes, the same missions the A321neo currently operates. In addition, the capacity of the 737 MAX 9 and A321neo are roughly the same, with Alaska's MAX 9s seating 178 passengers compared to Hawaiian's A321neos, which have a capacity of 188, although seating layout and cabin offerings differ. Additionally, Alaska currently has orders for the 737 MAX 10, which would more closely match the A321neo's capacity. However, certification delays mean the MAX 10 is still a ways away from entering commercial service, eliminating its usefulness as a near-term solution. But the MAX 10 would also be able to serve all the same routes Hawaiian currently deploys its A321neos on, with a range of up to 3,600 nautical miles or 6,670 kilometers and seating for up to 228, although a two-class cabin configuration would likely put that number near 190. But whether the MAX 9 or MAX 10, switching to modern Boeing narrowbodies seems like the logical next step for Alaska, especially given its historical preference for Boeing and its actions after its merger with Virgin America. Despite Alaska's preference for fleet simplicity, Mr. Tackett does also see a path forward for keeping and even expanding Hawaiian's fleet of A321neos. In fact, he stated, if Alaska saw a line of sight to doubling the size of the A321neo fleet, we would pursue the opportunity. Seeing the situation through this lens, Hawaiian's Airbus aircraft are deeply integrated into the airline's route network and serve a purpose that Boeing's narrow-bodies cannot perfectly replicate. The A321neo offers superior range and fuel efficiency on longer overwater routes, particularly between Hawaii and the mainland. Expanding Hawaiian's A321neo fleet would also stay consistent with the airline's A330-200 wide-body aircraft, simplifying pilot transition from the Airbus narrow-body to the wide-body. If Hawaiian and Alaska's operations are kept largely separate as they are today, it could also reduce maintenance costs, as Hawaiian's facilities already have the supply chain, components, and staff needed to maintain Airbus aircraft. There is also the question of sunk costs. Hawaiian's A321neos are relatively young and well-maintained. In addition, Hawaiian recently upgraded these aircraft with modern improvements like Starlink Wi-Fi. Phasing these aircraft out today could mean forfeiting years of remaining economic life that Hawaiian paid for when it originally purchased the aircraft. It would also mean a need for additional capital to purchase additional Boeing 737 aircraft to fill the hole left by a possible A321neo departure. So you can see that there is a fair bit for the executives at Alaska Air Group to consider. Should it double down on the A321neo or go all in with the Boeing 737 family of aircraft? What do you think should happen? Let us know by leaving a comment. In addition to our daily YouTube videos, Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles and a podcast every week. Visit simpleflying.com.